here's a tutorial, real quick, for how to do a fuzzy, furry rug. So I have a little rectangle here, kind of sketched out in light pencil. I'm going to go along and make it fuzzy on the edges, just to remind myself what's going on. Before I do anything, I'm going to also decide which direction my light is coming from. So let's say the light is coming from the upper left, all right? That's going to determine where the shadows fall among the little hairs on the rug. So the first thing I'm going to use is a French Gray 20. I'm going to use the fine. Actually, no, let's use the big side first. That's this. So that's French Gray 20. And I'm going to lay in just on the shadowy side some big heavy areas of shadow. Okay, once I get done that, I'm going to flip over to the small side. And in all cases, the strokes of my pen or my pencil or my marker or whatever it is going to follow the direction that the fur would be going in. And I can do another coat with 20% over top of the big heavy first coat. And it's already starting to look fuzzy. This to me, because this is so small, this is looking more like a pillow rather than a rug. But again, that's just a matter of scale. And there's nothing surrounding this to give me a sense of scale, which is, kind of throwing things off. Okay, so there we have basic, one pen. All right, now we're gonna come in with a French Gray 40, and we're gonna put in, kind of like that, we're gonna put in some shadows. Specifically, we're along the edges. And these are very short little strokes, little, almost a dot. And particularly along the edge here. Now keep in mind, if you put this darker, the darker shadowing more into the center, it'll make it look domed like a pillow. If you keep it only along the edge, like right along the edge, it's gonna look flat, like a rug. So how wide is your area of shadow will tell your eye how deep and how rounded and fat this object is, whether, like a pillow or like flat like a rug. You put little dots all the way around. Okay, now that's not terrible, okay? That's just 2 pens. But I'm going to come in with some colored pencil. Okay, so here's my colored pencil. Now, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to start with my lightest, which is this flesh pink. I'm not sure this is going to show up really well. This is going to come in really subtle. But I wanted to warm this up a little bit. I'm not sure this is actually going to show up on the camera, but in person I can see a difference. It's making just a little bit of a warm, almost like a sheepskin, kind of a sheepskin color. And again, I'm keeping my strokes going outwards like the fur would fall. Okay, that didn't do that much. Next, we're going to go with a slightly darker one. This one is called Brown Ochre. And yeah, definitely a little darker. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful with this. So this is going to bring that warmth in as if this were, sheepskin or whatever. The big thing with white, especially if it's white fur, white is the most reflective color, and it will pick up all the colors in the room around it. So you can add, like for example, if there's, you know, wood tones or leather, add a little bit of the surrounding colors into your white, and it'll really make it look like it belongs in the scene. Okay, this is really fuzzy looking. Now I'm not bearing down as hard on the pencil out here in the center, and just kind of touching it to the paper. I'm not pushing very hard. Okay, so there's those two. I had this brown, I'm not sure I'm going to use it. It's maybe, I see it's a little dark. I think the only place I would use it would be like right along this edge. Like if I wanted to really define this edge. And what I'm doing is just teeny tiny little, almost like hatch lines. Like that. Just to make it, to give it an edge, a boundary. Just to really define that boundary. All right, now I do have some gray. I don't think I'm going to use this one. The silver gray, I love it. It's a little too cool. I think I'm not going to use that after all. This is my blue gray, which is my absolute favorite of all grays. And I love mixing a little bit of bluish in with brown. I love putting blue and brown together. I think they go really well. They're very soft and they complement each other. The blue will cool down the shadows just a little bit and give it some depth. So I'm pressing pretty hard. I'm gripping down here by the tip of the pencil, and I'm kind of making dots, like wiggly dots. All right, now, if I really wanted to, I could come in with a little bit of micron and really emphasize the fur, especially here at the edges. And this is just little lines, kind of rough, going in all different directions. Well, mostly all different directions. On here, we're going to just have a couple dots up here, and then getting a little bit bigger and longer as we get away. Because again, the light source is coming from here, so same thing. Just some little dots, maybe a little bit heavier here. You can, if you want, have a little bit of micron in the middle. You don't have to. And just, it depends on how much definition you really want to have in there. And that's sort of a artistic choice. Then that's up to you. All right, so there we go, something fuzzy.